I could just break down like the plan that works for 90% of people. You guys want to get into that?
Oh, let's get into it.
All
Oh,
right.
hold on. Before we go, before we do that, Dave, do you want to ask these questions or you want to get straight into the meat and potatoes?
Hey, now go straight into it. Hey, give them the game.
So the plan for success to change the trajectory of your wealth for the better that I end up giving to most people
Hold
is
on. Go grab your pen. Go get your paper. And I hope y'all got something to drink. I told y'all. So, all right, my bad. There you go.
Okay, so what we're told is, because when most people end up in my office sitting across from me, they've worked really hard. Maybe they paid attention to their credit, or maybe they just kind of stumbled across having good credit. But the one thing that's for sure is that they've saved up a considerable amount of money, probably the most amount of money they've ever saved up in their life. And because they've worked so hard on that, they want to get a good payoff. They want that dream home, right? And what are we conditioned to think for the last 50, 60, 70 years or more? You work hard, you save up, you get the house with a white picket fence in front of it, and 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2 car garage, and then you've made it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people want. But I'm like, hey, there's something better out there. So the biggest expense that most people have is their housing expense, right? And let's just say it costs you $2,000 a month to live in a place. It's probably a lot more, depending on where you're from, maybe even less if you're in a rural area. But if it costs you $2,000 a month, I just go, hey, most first-time home buyers in our market are looking at a house that's going to be, like a condo around $300,000. Okay. That's going to cost you a little more than $2,000 a month because of what happened in the last couple of years. But you buy a single family home or a condo somewhere around $300,000. It's going to cost you at least $2,000 a month, probably more like $2,500 a month. But I go, well, wait a second. What if I could show you how to own a $550,000 property that only costs you $600 or $700 a month? Would you be interested in that? And of course, we talk about a fourplex, because a fourplex is the most amount of doors that you can get, up to 4 units. That's still a residential loan. The reason that it's important that we use a residential loan is because those are the loans that you can still get into with small down payments. The minute you go up to 5 units, you're looking at a bare minimum of 20% down for the most part. So we can get into a fourplex at 3.5% down. So I tell people, hey, you get into this fourplex, you live in it for 1 year, chances are you're living in an apartment already. So yeah, you do want to take that hard-earned money and see a benefit in a better living lifestyle, but we're talking about an investment here. You live in this place for 1 year, now your living expenses, $600-$700 a month, as opposed to $2,200-$2,300 a month. You're saving $1,500 a month. Well, $1,500 a month, what's that, $18,000 a year? I just showed you how to make $18,000 more a year by reducing your housing expense. And what would you have to do at your job to make an extra $1,500 a month? And most people, the answer is there's nothing that they could do at their job. There's no more hours for them to get. They're looking at getting a second job in order to make that extra money. But we're just talking about cash flow at that point. Because when they move out of that one, now that unit is going to make $700 or $800 a year. Used to be a little bit more like $1,000, but prices have gone up. Interest rates have gone up. Those are the lead measures. The lag measures are going to be our rental rates. So those follow along. So it's actually a good time to buy right now, because now you're buying something where you can negotiate a little bit better price, and you will be able to in a couple of years when all those rental rates go up. So I show them how to own a more expensive property that costs them less per month. And then we start talking about the strategy. Once they're interested in that and they start seeing the benefits, we go, okay, you buy your first place with an FHA. If you have a VA loan, it's game over at that point, because you can use your FHA or your VA to buy your first property up to 4 units. Then you can turn around next year and buy another property up to 4 units using that other loan. People like me who don't have access to the VA, we got to get a little bit more creative. So in order to buy our second property, I got to go to like a local credit union. And most areas are going to have a local credit union that have a program like this, but it's not guaranteed. I can go down to a local credit union. I can go buy a fourplex with 5% down. So now I'm in the first year, I'm owning over $1 million of real estate, or somewhere around there. Most fourplexes here about $500,000-$600,000. And in 2 years, I've been able to buy fourplex buildings that have not only reduced my monthly expenses, but I've got one building now that's making me money. Then in year 3, after we owner occupy the second building for 1 year, then we go and buy a duplex, because when it comes to triplexes and fourplexes, we've only got a couple options for a small down payment. When you start getting closer to those single family homes, they open up more options. So we've got another local credit union here that'll do 5% down on a duplex, another one that'll do 10% down on a duplex, or you can go Fannie and Freddie and get a duplex at 15% down, kind of a big down payment, but it's still less than 20. So as I talk to people and I show them these different options, you buy new real estate every single year. We come up with a strategy to maximize these low down payment loan programs. And every year as you're buying another property, you get the cash flow. But when you look at the cash flow, that's very short-sighted when it comes to the total benefit. Because what else do we have? Well, look at the last 2 years. Everyone knows what happened to real estate. Skyrocketed in value. There's a lot of people that made 50, 60, or over $100,000, and they did nothing. But you can't win that game if you never get on the field. And so you've got to own real estate. And everyone's talking about like, oh, dude, I'm just waiting for the housing market to crash. I got in real estate 9 years ago. There's a guy that gets emails from me every single week who's been waiting 9 years for the real estate market to crash.
Wow.
And, what we got to do, just like with any investment, we don't know if the stock market's going up and down. We don't know if there's going to be some black swan event that is going to make our business fail. But we do our due diligence and we move forward in faith, and we trust that when we take the next right step, things are going to work out. And as long as you keep moving forward, I mean, you guys know, one of the things that's unique about successful people is that they make decisions quickly, because they know when they don't make a decision, that's the worst decision that they can make. It's stagnant. And life is not stagnant. Life is like a river that's flowing, and you're either going with it or it's leaving you behind. So you got to make decisions. And we know that even if we make a wrong decision, we can pivot, and we're going to learn from that. We're going to get an experience that's going to make us more valuable and more successful in the future. And that's what I try to help people do.
Man, you said a lot. You said a mouthful. So for those of you who don't know me, and every one of you guys, I think we've been tricked, right? And I'm gonna tell you how we've been tricked. If you ever played the game of Monopoly, they told you to get the house, and then get the hotel. What you just said was, Keenan, to get the hotel first, and then just keep getting hotels. Like, why get houses where you can just buy the whole hotel, 4 doors under one roof?
Yeah.
And for the same price, because you said after you go to 5 and more, you're going to have a higher down payment. So you can use these no money down, low money down, or all these different avenues to get the fourplex. The same avenue you use to get a single family home. And then you don't stop there. You do it year after year after year. And I'm pretty sure after you get the cash flow, then you can get the loans to get more than 5 units.
Yeah, so you got to be careful in how you file your taxes. But you guys got a tax person coming up later that can talk more about that. And as you have the cash flow of these other buildings, because say you make $60,000, $70,000 a year at your job, but now you got this building that's making, $800, $900 a month for you. Well, now you're making another $10,000 a year to add on to that 60 or 70. So that's what I mean when I tell these people, hey, your dream home right now might be 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 1,800 square feet, 2,000 square feet or something like that. And that's a great home. There's nothing wrong with that home. That's very respectable. And that is all a lot of people want. But if you come hang out with me and you give me 5 to 7 years, that dream home is going to be something much different.
Wow. Yeah, my dream home. Yeah. You said white picket fence, American dream. Me and Dave was actually going to write a book about this, but we'll probably write it later. But everybody told us when we started a credit repair, we left the military to start a credit repair company. People thought we were insane. They couldn't believe it. They're like, you got everything you need. You got the salary job that's going to pay you, and you can see the career way path. And it's going to, the longer you stay in, the more you get on retirement. So why not stay and live in the house and just receive the benefits? So what you're saying is, if someone spends, you said 7 years with you, the dream home is going to look different. So I think when me and Dave were talking, our dreams kept getting higher and higher. What we thought we could achieve got higher and higher, way past what the military offered. So if they sit down with you, you'll build them out you'll build out a plan of how they can achieve their dream home, the one that is way above what they're thinking now. Yeah,
that's exactly right. I love that you guys took that step, because I had a lot of similar conversations with people. I became a superintendent when I was 25 years old. Most of those guys were like 50 years old. It's very intimidating on the job site, but I did very well for myself. Like it sounds like you guys did in your career, and that's what people told me. They're like, you got a great benefit package, and I knew that there was more out there. But what you were talking about, so if we look at this strategy a little bit more, I talked about the loan programs, but when we talk about the property type, you want to start out with a fourplex, because as you keep a building and then buy another one, they want to see you do one thing, which is increase the level of your lifestyle. And the way that you do that is you go down in your housing density. So that means moving from a fourplex to a triplex to a duplex to a single family home. And they want to see you go up in your level of lifestyle. So the way that you go up in your level of lifestyle is going by down in your housing density, adding more features to a property, more square footage. So it's really important that we start off with a fourplex, even though a lot of people, they're like, okay, I'll buy a multifamily, but I just want to dip my toes in the landlord pool, and I'll start off with a duplex. I'm like, no, you don't want to do that. Number one, they don't cash flow very well. And number two, it's going to bottleneck you in the potential that you can have in your future strategy. You know what I did? So after I had my condo, I had a 2,500 square foot home. I ended up selling them, and I moved into my first fourplex. It was 500 square feet, 1 bedroom and 1 bath. I could go like this with my arms and my legs in one point of the house, and I would be in every single room of the house at the same time. And I'm not going to lie, day 3, when I was sitting on that couch, like with my dog next to me, a single tear rolling down my cheek, like things got a little emotional. I went from having a big house and a nice neighborhood, custom kitchen, entertain people all the time, and now I'm in this house where I could be in every single room at the same time. But you know what happened was that first mortgage payment came around, and it was made by those other 3 tenants.
Oh, God. So story time, Keenan.
And I was like, all right, I get this. So as we're talking, as we're considering the strategy with, the property types, we overlay that with, how we have to upgrade our property. So we're going from fourplexes to duplexes, but you can even take it into one dwelling properties. So like after you move out of your last multifamily and your last duplex because it's getting bigger, that might be a duplex. It's a very nice building in a very nice part of town. And then after that, you can go because now we're in single family homes. Now we got a bunch of loan programs with very small down payments. And you're like, I want to keep slicing this real estate investing tomato as thin as I can. So I go, okay, well, we're not going to move into your dream home yet. Let's get you a really nice condo, because condos are only a small step above. If you go from a condo to a single family home, then they consider that an upgrade in your lifestyle. So you go get yourself a nice condo. But now that we're in single family homes, we can also buy a condo. Maybe it's something like downtown where it's an older building and you buy it with a renovation loan. Now we're forcing equity into that building. So what we start doing is we start combining different tools and strategies on top of each other. You know, like if you go on Bigger Pockets, they've got the Burr method, you know, buy, renovate, rehab, rent out, refinance. But then when you buy a fourplex, that's called a multifamily house hack. If you buy a house that has 5 bedrooms and you rent out all the bedrooms, that's a single family house hack. And what I've done is I bought my properties is I've bought crappy ones and renovated them. So I'm doing a Burr multifamily house hack. And now that I've had them for a while, now that I have nice buildings, I'm turning them into Airbnb units because you remember that 500 square foot 1-bedroom apartment I had? That's a pretty deluxe hotel room. And I can Airbnb that thing, charge half as much as what they charge the hotel fees in the middle of summer because it's really expensive here in the middle of summer. You try to rent a car up here, it's $200, $300 a day just to rent a car in the middle of summer. I know, I got 6 of them. But now I'm turning them into Airbnbs, and in the wintertime, I use them as corporate furnished rentals for traveling nurses. And instead of charging $1,200 a month, I charge $2,000 a month. Just in that building, that 4-unit building, that originally made me $600 or $700 a month. I refinanced it a year later, got my cash flow up to $1,000 a month. Then I started converting them to Airbnbs where those units make, after all the fees and everything, I probably take home about $4,000 a month in the summer per unit, as opposed to $1,200 a month. And then in the wintertime, I rent them out for $2,000 a month. So if you just use the wintertime furnished rental market, you know, that building went from making $5,000 a month for me to making $8,000 a month. You know, so that cash flow goes from $1,000 a month to $4,000 a month.
Hey, Keenan just dropped the mic, man. Hey,
but you got to get in the game because none of this stuff is what I imagined when I first started it. I was like, all right, it makes $600-700 a month. I'll get this one. I'll get the next one. And now this thing, like, you know, it does pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Got it. Okay. Confucius said, had a quote. It says, if I see it, I'll forget it. If I hear it, I will remember it. But if I do it, I'll understand it. So I do understand what you're saying. But go ahead, Dave.
So you said if a person worked with you, and if they just gave you 7 years, they call you Mr. Alaska. They gave you 7 years, Mr. Alaska, right? After 7 years, how much you see they'll get in cash flow on average? On the people you work with.
In 7 years, they're probably, I mean, very conservatively. This isn't converting anything to Airbnbs or none of that stuff. Just buying these rentals. I mean, I think it's very realistic for someone to be at $5,000 a month.
Oh man,
that's just average.
That's very. He said,
if in 7 years they buy 5 buildings, so we're not even buying a building every year, right? So we're being conservative. We're giving them a little bit of extra time on there, and we're just saying, hey, like that, because that first building after 7 years is probably going to be generating more than $1,000 because rents go up over time. You have the opportunity to refinance it. Maybe you make some improvements in it. But if we just say, okay, 5 buildings in 7 years at $1,000 a piece, it's very realistic that you would be making an extra $5,000 a month. But what I find, there's a moose walking outside my office right now.
You got to come to the office. I want to see them.
So what we find is that as you get in the game, you start seeing these other opportunities, you know, like long-term versus short-term rentals. Yeah. Or, I mean, There's some other strategies that I can go into on how to generate more money. So like one of the things that they did in our market right now is they just passed some legislation. The guy that I actually started working with when I first got my license, that taught me almost everything that I know. He's one of the assembly members for the municipality of Anchorage right now. All kinds of stuff is happening with real estate and being able to provide affordable housing. So they just they eliminated parking requirements. And he made it very easy for people to add additional dwelling units. So depending on the size of your building, the primary structure, you can add an additional dwelling unit that's 900 to 1,200 square feet. Well, 1,200 square feet, you can squeeze out 3 bedrooms in 1,200 square feet. So you're looking at something anywhere from a studio to a 3-bedroom unit. It's very easy to add that onto your property. And on top of that, there's a company that is doing turnkey additional dwelling units. They've got the financing in place at a local credit union. You go down there and they're doing they're focusing on ones that are about 500 to 900 square feet. So they're going to be studios and 1 bedrooms, maybe a 2-bedroom. But for $50,000 to $70,000, they'll come drop this additional dwelling unit on your property, all prefabricated. Financing's in place. They hook up to your electrical, they hook up to your water, they hook up to your sewer. And I mean, a brand new construction 1-bedroom unit, just if it's a 1-bedroom unit, that gets $1,250, maybe $1,300 all day, every single day.
All right, let me stop you right there. All right. Ooh. Hey, look, me and Dave probably asked one question. Keenan, you the best. So you got 2 minutes left, and I know everybody want to know how can they get in contact with you, how can they reach you. We're going to be partnering with Keenan more, especially for the people who are in the 100K blueprint and the people who are in our mentorship currently. We're going to probably try to work out with Keenan a way so we can get more into detail, because what you gave us was a lot of high level, pretty much training. And I know everybody's going to go back and watch it. Please go back, watch, and digest and dissect what he said, because far too often we try to lead our own instead of going out and finding mentors who mastered the game and who can accelerate our growth. Because you said you were in the game for 9 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so hey, look, that's 9 years of experience that you can get access to just by working with me and Dave. And yeah, man, I can't wait till we really have something lined up. But all right, you got like 1 minute left. What do you want to say to anybody right now that can?
Hold on, before you ask that. After 7 years, and they accumulated all these assets, how much is that worth?
If they sell, oh yeah.
Like, is it $1 million worth of assets they have?
I mean, if they've got 5 properties, I mean, they're probably sitting around $3 million worth of assets. But the great thing about real estate is, like a lot of investments, is it grows, because you don't just make, you asked about the cash flow. You don't just make money off cash flow. You've got the appreciation. You depreciate it on your taxes, so you get to offset your taxable income on that mortgage. You get to write off the interest that you pay on that mortgage. You've got the principal pay down as well, and then you got the cash flow. So while cash flow is king, and we love to look at that, we don't like. One of my best friends, he's got a property in downtown Denver, Colorado, loses him $300 a month. And he goes, but check it out. Like, this is a very nice property. It's appreciating. So when you factor everything, I'm making money, and this thing's going to be my retirement. I can either put $300 a month into this property, which won't be forever. It'll just be for a few years. Or I could go put $300 into a Roth IRA or whatever else it is. And he goes, I choose real estate.
Oh man! All right, Keenan. All right, we got another speaker. We definitely need to weaponize you more into our program, because.
So what I'm saying is, people going to become millionaires based off of them acquiring that.
Real estate has made more millionaires than any other vehicle in the history of the entire world.
Hey, that's what's up. All right, Keenan. Hey, look, you already know we want to ask you more questions, but we got to go. Thank you for your time. And do you have one last word for the guests?
I would just encourage them to continue being a critical thinker and seeking out the truth like this. Like, what we're conditioned to do, go get that house that's going to keep you house poor. Go get that big car, which is a depreciating asset. Like, all that stuff is just made to make us weaker and we're more controllable. Freedom comes starting first with being the most excellent version of yourself with your finances and your personal health and your spirituality. So just continue to seek excellence in every aspect of your life and realize that a lot of the things that we're conditioned to believe aren't for our benefit.
Oh man, that's dope. All right, Keenan, thank you so much. I'm gonna drop you down. If anybody want to reach out to Keenan, drop Keenan in the chat. We're gonna be going back and getting all the comments, and then we're gonna serve you guys the best way we know how.
Hey, type Mr. Alaska, Mr. Alaska.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm gonna hang out in the chat for a while.
Okay, all right.
All right.